Şu an slaytım görünüyor mu?
Görünüyor. Görünüyor, evet. Devam edin, buyurun.
Görünüyor hocam.
Okay. Tamam. Okay. The title of my study is an investigation on the effects of ethical climate on organizational dissent. In today's competitive business environment, organizations have understood the importance of keeping pace with the fast changes in the environment and thus taking competitive advantage against their rivals. This understanding necessitates paying attention to employees' feedback and criticism on organizational practices and policies. Although placed emphasis of speaking up of the employees and their communications with superiors on organizational survival and success, they are often not taken into consideration by the management because they are often hired and promoted on the basis of their conformance to organizational values rather than purely professional or technical merits. So employees dissent because they have contradictory opinions about company policies and practices, and the organization's ethical climate may have effect on employees' dissent since it reflects on employees' shared perceptions regarding company policies, practices, and procedures. So this study examines the impact of ethical climate on organizational dissent. And I collected data from 356 white-collar employees working in different industries in Istanbul. Okay, and let's talk about ethical climate first. Ethical climate is defined by Victor and Cullen in 1988. And ethical climate means the shared perception of what is correct behavior and how ethical situations should be handled in an organization. More specifically, organizational ethical climate refers to employees' shared understandings of practices such as, company policies, actions, methods, routines, traditions, and procedures. Victor and Cullen's framework, the ethical decision making framework, defines the ethical climate, and this framework is based on two basic dimensions, locus of analysis dimension and ethical criteria dimension. Okay. As seen in table 1, the first dimension exemplifies the ethical criteria used in decision making within the organization and consists of egoism, benevolence, and principle. In egoism ethical climates, norms focus on personal gains. And the expectation is that individuals should not be concerned with the well-being of others. Okay? So egoism is not expected to promote loyalty development to the organization. When the organization approves of self-interest behaviors and attitudes, including situations such as lying, cheating, and stealing. So employees will value less both the organization and others in the organization as a whole. In the climate of benevolence, organizational norms support raising the interests of a particular social group and want the best for society. So decision makers look for alternatives that raise common interests, even if it means less satisfaction of individual needs. The person who perceives the benevolent climate makes the decisions that will provide the best results for many people who agree with the decision. So such individuals see their institutions with sincere interests for the welfare of others. And the other one, the principled climate, the principled perspective focuses on the task element and adheres to moral principles, to adhere to laws, rules, policies, procedures, such as the ethical code of the organization, government policies, or community laws. So individuals make ethical decisions after evaluating the actions associated with the universal and unchanging principles of right and wrong. So along with these three basic types of ethical climates, Victor and Cullen's typology has three locus of analysis. And these are individual, local, and cosmopolitan reference groups. And locus of analysis indicates who will be considered when ethical or moral issues are considered or moral judgments are made. So individual level was articulated as external to the organization in the way in which the normative climate was supported by the ethical reasoning of the individual. Local level symbolizes sources of ethical reasoning in the organization such as the work group. And cosmopolitan level indicated organizational sources of ethical reasoning external to the organization, such as professional association or a body of law. Okay, and let's now talk about organizational dissent. Cussing defines organizational dissent as an employee feels separate from their organizations, explaining their dispute and opposing ideas about the organization. So these ideas and explanations can be about organizational policies, practices, and activities. And Cussing identified three types of organizational dissent: articulated, latent, and displaced dissent. Articulated dissent refers to an open and direct communication with members of the organization that can affect organizational arrangements. And latent dissent means sharing ideas with audiences, such as a colleague, who have no influence rather than superiors with organizational strength. And latent dissent take place when employees want to express their opinions, but there is no suitable environment. Okay. Displaced dissent includes explaining criticisms to external audiences, such as friends, family, spouse, and other important people in one's life. So Cussing stated that individual, relational, and organizational factors have an impact on the statements of dissent of those working in organizations. So ethical climate, refers to common perceptions about organizational practices and procedures that have ethical content, and employees' perceptions of their ethical climates also affect the manner and the subject in which employees choose to express dissent. So Shahinpur and Matz define successful organization as an ethical place to work and suggest studying if there is any relationship between dissent and the perception of successful organizations. So taken together, employees dissent because they have contradictory opinions about company policies, practices, and the organization's ethical climate may be related to and have an effect on employees' dissent, since it reflects on employees' shared perceptions about regarding company policies, practices, and procedures. So I formulated these hypotheses. Hypothesis 1, there is a relationship between ethical climate and organizational dissent. So the universe of the research consists of white-collar employees working in Istanbul, and research data was collected through convenience sampling and applied to 356 white-collar employees working in enterprises operating in various sectors in Istanbul. And organizational dissent was measured using the scale developed by Kessing in 1996, and ethical climate is measured using the questionnaire developed by Cullen, Victor, and Branson in 1993. And here are the findings. The reliability of the ethical climate scale was found as a point 893, and factor analysis of the ethical climate scale is here. And the other one, organizational dissent scales reliability, was found as alpha equals to 0.70. So here is the factor analysis result of
Hocam arzu edersen son bir iki dakikada Türkçe özetleyebilirsin.
Okay, just I want to say that this is the factor analysis of ethical climate, but the other one is the factor analysis of the organizational dissent scale, but I forgot to change the title of the table 3. So this is the factor analysis of displaced dissent, okay? So correlation analysis you were seeing, and I want to talk about the results of regression analysis very shortly. The relationship between ethical climate and organizational dissent was tested using multiple regression analysis. And in this table, you see that the outcomes of regression analysis between the dimensions of ethical climate.
Hocam, bir şey soracağım. Yani
Okay.
siz etki değil. You are not looking for effect. You are checking for relationship. Relationship is checked by correlation table, not regression. Yes,
Yeah,
that's the correct. That's the relationship. The other one is the effect. Okay. So when you are talking about the correlation, you need to use this table, not the other one.
Yeah, but in general, while looking at the relationships between variables, then we do regression analysis too. So that's why
that's the effect. The effect of Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So in this table, you are seeing that the results indicated that laws, professional codes positively contributed to constructive articulated dissent. And in the other one,
evet.
shows that personal morality negatively contribute to questioning articulated dissent. And the last one, let's be...
Yavaş yavaş toparlayalım hocam.
Okay. And this one shows that friendship negatively contribute to displaced dissent. Okay. And the last one, discussion and conclusion part. So the results indicate that laws, professional codes, climate placed in ethical climate matrix of Victor and Cullen in cosmopolitan locus of analysis and principled moral judgment dimension that is related to the legal system and professional organizations arises constructive articulated dissent. That is an open and direct communication with members of the organization in a constructive way that can affect organizational arrangements. And personal morality climates placed in ethical climate matrix of Victor and Cullen in individual locus of analysis and principled moral judgment dimensions is related to the self-chosen principles guided by personal ethics. And these decreases questioning articulated dissent, that is an open and direct communication with members of the organization in a questioning way that can affect organizational arrangements. And the last one, friendship climate placed in ethical climate matrix of Victor and Cullen in individual locus of analysis and benevolent moral judgment dimension decreases displaced dissent that includes explaining criticisms to external audiences such as friends, families, suppose, and other important people in one's life. So this finding, the finding of this paper that shows the organization's ethical climate have a partially effect on employees' dissent. And this is because ethical climate reflects on employees' shared perceptions, regarding policies, practices, and procedures. So in order for organizations to be competitive in today's conditions and keep up with the changes, having employees who proactively anticipate these changes will enable them to gain an advantage over their competitors. The way to do this is to offer employees a participatory work environment where they can express their opinions clearly. In this regard, organizational dissent appears as an issue that managers need to be interested in and understand, and therefore it is of great importance that managers understand the organizational dissent and give opportunities to the employees at this point by placing emphasis on ethical climate of their organizations. And thank you very much for listening to this presentation.
Teşekkür ederiz sunum için.